My name is Adrian Vale, and I did not come to Harrowmere Island looking for answers. I came because I needed to disappear. Harrowmere sits off the northeastern coast of the United States, a jagged crescent of rock and pine that doesn't appear on postcards. Cargo vessels pass it without slowing. The mainland supply boat docks once every 10 days. There is no signal, no steady internet, and no reason to visit unless you belong there. Or unless you're running from something. The job posting was brief. Deckhand and independent fisherman wanted. Housing provided. Long-term commitment preferred. Long-term. I should have paid attention to that. The ferry ride over was uneventful. The captain avoided small talk. When Harrowmere emerged from the fog, it did not look welcoming. It looked patient. The lighthouse on the southern cliffs was intact but dark. I noticed that first. There are about 70 people on Harrowmere. They speak softly and watch carefully. They do not ask unnecessary questions, and they do not answer them either. The man who hired me was Thomas Hale, head of the island council. He had the calm voice of someone who practiced sounding reasonable. "You'll be working your own lines," he said. "Sell your catch through the co-op. Stay within marked waters." "What's outside the markers?" I asked. "Unreliable currents." He held my gaze just long enough to make the lie feel intentional. I was given a modest trawler named Marable. The previous owner had relocated, according to Hale. No one said where. The boat smelled faintly metallic beneath the usual salt and diesel. On my second night aboard, while organizing the cabin, I found a narrow ledger wedged behind a drawer. It was handwritten, dates spanning nearly 3 years. Each entry listed coordinates, water temperature, moon phase, and a single recurring phrase. Density increasing. At first, I assumed it referred to fish populations. But the coordinates were clustered around a specific offshore trench, known locally as the Hollow. The final entry read, "It is not migration, it is accumulation." There was no signature. The handwriting grew less steady toward the end. The Hollow is not visible from shore. It lies 5 nautical miles east, where the seabed drops sharply into a deep, narrow trench. The council's map marked the area as restricted due to unstable seabed. No one elaborated. For my first week, I kept to safer waters. Cod, pollock, crab traps, normal work. The rhythms of rope and net calmed me. But I felt it even then. A subtle vibration when the water was still. A low tremor beneath the hull at night. Not constant, not loud, just enough to unsettle. Like distant thunder under the floorboards. It happened on a windless evening. The sea was glass. I had drifted farther east than usual, distracted by a strong school reading on the sonar. The display flickered briefly, then stabilized. That was when I noticed the water discoloring around the boat. Not oil, not algae, shadows, large ones. They did not move like fish. They shifted slowly, maintaining equal distance from one another, forming a loose ring beneath me. I cut the engine. The shadows stopped. The surface of the water bulged upward slightly, as if something below had exhaled. Then the vibration began. Low, rhythmic. Deliberate. I restarted the engine and left without hauling the lines. That night, I dreamed of something counting. Over the next month, the island's catch improved dramatically. Larger hauls, denser schools, species appearing out of season. The co-op paid well, too well. No one seemed surprised. When I mentioned the shadows to another fisherman, he stared at me for a long moment before replying. "You drifted over the Hollow, didn't you?" "Yes." He nodded once, as if confirming a suspicion. "Stay west of the markers." "That's it. That's it." His hands were trembling when he returned to his nets. Curiosity eventually overpowers caution. I hiked to the lighthouse one afternoon. The structure was solid but neglected. The lens inside was intact, thick glass prisms layered like frozen petals. In the keeper's quarters, I found maintenance logs. The final operational note was dated 6 years prior. Beam disrupts subsurface formation. Council advises discontinuation. Claims it agitates the stock. Stock, not current, not tide. Stock, a later page, written in a different hand. They are farming it. The ink was smeared, as if the writer's hand had shaken. I returned to the ledger from the Marable and compared the coordinates with the hollow's position. Every density increasing. Entry matched periods shortly after the lighthouse had been turned off. Without the beam sweeping across the trench, whatever gathered below did so undisturbed. And in response, fish populations around the island surged, as if something was corralling them. Herding, feeding, cultivating. The shadows I saw were not random. They were boundary markers. The night everything shifted, the fog did not roll in. It sank, a vertical descent from sky to sea, sealing the island in silence. No wind, no waves. The vibration began before midnight. Stronger than before. Persistent. I stepped onto the dock and saw that every boat in North Harbor was rocking gently, though the water was flat. People emerged from their houses, but did not speak. They simply watched the eastern horizon. Out beyond the markers, the sea began to glow faintly. Not bioluminescence. Structured light. Lines. Long curved bands moving just beneath the surface, outlining something vast. Then the water in the distance rose. Not in a wave. In a slow, sustained elevation. As if a continent were adjusting its posture. The glow intensified, tracing ridges and grooves across an enormous submerged form. And I understood. The hollow was not a trench. It was a depression formed by weight. Something ancient had settled there long ago. The island's prosperity was built on its presence. The council had not shut down the lighthouse to save money. They had done it to keep the thing calm. The beam irritated it, agitated the stock. The fish swarmed toward it in dense numbers, drawn by whatever field it emitted. Smaller predators followed, then larger ones. A perfect, self-sustaining harvest. Until it decided to move. The elevation in the waterline grew more pronounced. Boats strained against their ropes. The vibration climbed in pitch, no longer distant thunder, but a grinding resonance that made my vision blur. The glowing lines beneath the sea rearranged, forming patterns too symmetrical to be geological. Segments, plates, openings. Something along the massive shape dilated, revealing darkness deeper than the surrounding water. The fish near shore began leaping frantically, fleeing east to west. Not toward the island, away from it. The council members gathered near the pier. Hale stood at the front, face pale but composed. "Return to your homes," he said evenly. No one moved. The sea beyond, the markers began advancing. Not a wave, a migration. The entire illuminated mass shifted several meters closer to the island. The depression of the hollow was emptying. It had been resting. Now it was rising. In that moment, clarity cut through fear. The ledger's final note. Accumulation. It had not been measuring fish. It had been measuring proximity. The density increasing was not stock. It was pressure. The creature beneath the trench had been gradually displacing more water as it stirred. Harrowmere was not farming the ocean. It was anchored above something vast enough to consider the island negligible. A rock resting on its back. The lighthouse beam had likely kept it disoriented, unwilling to surface. When the light ceased, it adapted. It gathered food. It conserved energy. And now perhaps it was finished resting. Without asking permission, I ran. Up the cliffs, into the lighthouse. The old generator was rusted but intact. Fuel barrels sat sealed in the storage room. They had never been removed. They had been preserved. In case, it took precious minutes to prime the system. Below, the vibration intensified. I heard wood splintering in the harbor. When the lens finally rotated and the beam ignited, the light cut across the fog like a blade. I aimed it toward the eastern waters. The beam struck the glowing surface. For a heartbeat, nothing changed. Then the illuminated patterns convulsed. The water heaved violently. The vibration fractured into chaotic pulses. The massive shape recoiled. The glow dimmed and scattered. For a moment, I believed it was retreating. Then the lighthouse tower shuddered. The beam flickered, and something below answered with a force that cracked the glass in the lantern room. It did not flee. It reacted. Harrowmere still stands. The hollow remains deeper than before. The lighthouse operates intermittently. Officially, it was restored for navigational safety. The council has grown quieter. The catch is thinner now, more erratic. At night, I sometimes feel a faint tremor beneath the hull of the Marable. Not rising, not yet, but repositioning, as if the vast shape beneath the trench has rolled slightly, adjusting to the light. We are not harvesting it. We are not controlling it. We are tolerated. And tolerance is not permanent. If you ever hear of a small island with unusually abundant fishing and a lighthouse that runs only when necessary, understand this. Prosperity can be built on many foundations. Some of them breathe, and when they wake fully, they will not distinguish between rock, boat, or bone. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Have a good nightmare.